more than
Subhanallah.
those whom you just agree with.
That's incredible, man.
Yes, I have been invited to churches. I've been to a church. I've been
What do
to
you
other
mean,
places.
Mufti? You've been to a church.
What I mean is to call out to Allah.
Subhanallah, listen, yeah, mashallah, that's
To actually tell the people what Islam stands for and so on. I didn't go there to leave my deen or to participate in the acts of worship of another deen at all. So the da'wah, the Prophet ﷺ, when at a time when they used to do tawaf of the Kaaba naked, he used to walk around saying, Ayyuhan nas qulu la ilaha illallah tuflihu. He kept saying that. It doesn't mean that he didn't lower his gaze. He lowered his gaze.
Wow.
But he did that. He used to go to Hajj when Hajj was all about Wathaniya, when Hajj was all about idol worshipping and Jahiliyyah, the period of ignorance. But there were those gatherings of people that he used to go to in order to get the deen across to them. And guess what? It helped even a few people. And from there it grew. So with us, I feel sorry for those who sit in a cocoon and who actually are in a little shell, not knowing what's outside. They refuse for you to even greet a person who's different from you. Whenever are you going to be able to convince them that what you have is more correct or is what is correct? You won't, because you don't even talk to them.
Tabarakallah, Mufti, you just hit the nail on the head right here and there. Subhanallah, that's actually a perfect answer. And to be honest with you, Mufti, I'm seeing that a lot of people, while we're busy fighting amongst each other, there's a new generation of Muslims that are out there today. They're out there on TikTok, they're out there on Instagram, they're out there on Snapchat. And while we're busy, fighting amongst ourselves over these mere labels, there's a whole new generation of Muslims that we're not getting in touch with. And it scares me.
Do you know how big TikTok is? I think it's the second largest after WhatsApp.
Are you going to go on TikTok?
I have been on TikTok for a while, but I don't know how to use it.
You don't know how to use it?
The reason is I checked out what it's all about, and I don't know how I fit in there.
Yeah. It's like honestly, dancing, floss, this, that. It's like a bit awkward,
to me, it's... I'm trying to... if 10,000 of the mashayikh can get onto TikTok, we'd actually have a coup. But it's not, it's a platform of gathering. To me, it's like the ukad and mijanna that used to happen at the time of the Prophet ﷺ and the tawaf around the house naked. That's what TikTok is. So are we going to go there saying, Qulu la ilaha illallah tuflihu? Yeah. Or are we going to just shy away and let someone else take over? You will be shocked at, when I initially opened an account there, and I thought to myself, I wonder how this thing works. And with the help of some of the younger generation, they started showing me things. I said, you know what? I don't know how I'm going to fit in here. I can't.
Did you give it a try? Did you at least put up a post?
Not really, actually, because what to do, how to do it. But the point being raised is, yes, we need to somehow. There will be mashayikh and there will be scholars and others besides me, not me, but besides me, of a younger generation perhaps, who might come up with strategies of how to use those platforms, because that's the platform of gathering.
Subhanallah.
So when I see these platforms, I have people, what are you doing on Instagram? Why do you do this? Why do you do that? Listen, there are people losing their deen. We are resuscitating them. We're giving them mouth to mouth, That's what's happening, subhanallah. So that's why you find on the platforms, you got to be calm, you got to be cool, you got to be relaxed. And every scholar has a different approach. If you notice, I have a unique approach of my own, because I know, I'm not saying others are wrong. We need those approaches as well, but leave me alone.
Mufti, you've summed it up perfectly. I guess there's a generation that's there on TikTok, they're on these platforms, and at the end of the day, we can't just let it go and say, oh, I'm going to leave these people there. At the end of the day, someone needs to take the step and say, I'm going to get engaged with these people. And between you and me, I personally think you're doing an amazing job. But do you know who else I think is doing a killer job right now on social media and on these platforms?
Yes.
Sports stars.
Subhanallah.
Sports stars. What do you think?
Well, to a great degree, I believe that the influence that sports stars have is something that they will be held responsible and accountable for on the day of Qiyamah. I'm talking of the Muslims. Not to say the others won't, but that's on a different level. But they need to at least carry themselves correctly, because I promise you, imagine the sports stars pause for salah. That is, and it has happened, and it is so inspiring. I mean, you have youngsters who've never thought of it starting to pray, and they say, wow, because my idol or my sports hero does this, you know what, there goes. So I've got a few friends of mine who are sports stars, and I always tell them,
you want to drop a few names for the...
just be yourself.
Yeah.
And some of them have actually impacted for Islam and the Muslims way beyond any scholars.
Subhanallah.
I mean, take a look at a guy like, let me give you, one of the guys. a guy like Sonny Bill Williams, for
Allah,
example.
Sonny Bill Williams, SBW. Yeah, he was my favorite growing up. Yeah, anyways.
Well, he is still my favorite, not
Allahu
was.
Akbar, yeah.
And I've grown up, I think. Anyway, but the thing is, just with his akhlaq, with his character, you know, with his concern for the deen and so on, his straightforwardness, his, you know, the pure intentions you can see, that's an inspiration. And he just has to be himself. That's it. The same applies to someone like, say, one of the footballers, you know, Sadio Mane or Mo Salah or any one of those. They just have to be themselves, good Muslims. That's it. They don't need to go out and start, using the knowledge that they might not have sometimes, you know, deep knowledge and give lectures and talks. No one's saying that. You don't have to do that. That's not your field. You know how to kick a ball. Just kick it properly and just be a good Muslim.
That's it, man. That's it. And I guess at the end of the day, we got all these youngsters looking up to these guys. So, you know, use your platform, use whatever it is. And at the end of the day, the objective of da'wah, I guess, is to necessarily call people to Allah. Is that what we consider the goal of da'wah? It's not to get everyone to becoming a sheikh or a mufti or another Mufti Menk, although we would all love to be one. The goal of da'wah is to essentially call people to Allah, am I right?
Call people towards Allah, bettering themselves. That's the idea. Sahih. مِمَّنْ دَعَا إِلَى اللَّهِ. You call towards Allah. And one thing that I've noticed also amongst some of us as those who preach and those who are teachers and those who invite people towards Allah, sometimes because we've studied in an institute, we haven't interacted with the reality on the ground. And sometimes because we haven't mixed with the people and we have a lot of knowledge, but we don't have the wisdom, and sometimes because we don't know the reality, we tend to address matters in an idealistic way that is very far sometimes for the people to grasp because of their realistic lives. So when you look at the reality on the ground and you put yourself in their shoes, you begin to respond in a way that is practical and they can do what you're saying, rather than give them an answer that is so idealistic that is very difficult for them to practice. Can I give you an example?
Please, go be my guest.
You're talking about the argument of niqab, whether it is compulsory or whether it is not compulsory.
Yes.
Everyone knows that it is part of the deen, but whether it is voluntary or compulsory. You're talking about that argument. If you are talking about that argument to people in miniskirts, I think you have actually chased them away from the deen in a lot of cases, not because the argument is not a valid one, but because you're speaking about it to the wrong people. You're speaking of something ideal, for example, to people who are living a real life of challenges. Are you going to help these people by explaining to them what the minimum covering is in Islam and so on? Do you get what I mean?
I get 100%. Like there's that saying that goes, "خاطب الناس على قدر عقولهم."
على قدر, speak to people according to their level, on their level, and and this is why I say, would you be happy if you were to see a person who dressed inappropriately suddenly cover a little bit more?
100%.
That's a question.
I would 100%.
I tell you what, a lot of people wouldn't. Some of the scholars wouldn't, because why? They have this idealistic thinking where they don't care if you're improving bit by bit until you don't get to a level they think you should be upon. You are nothing to them.
Wow.
And this is where I differ very strongly with them. And I say, if someone has improved, say in a lot of the countries, people find it difficult to fulfill salah, because of so many challenges of work and weather and time zones and whatever else, and the timing of prayers. Now, you and I know Islam, 5 daily prayers. If a person wasn't making 5 and suddenly they start making 1, I would be a happy man. But I know that they still have to do better.
Yeah.
From 1, they start making 2. There's 100% improvement, but they still have a long way to go. From 2, they start making 3. There's another 100.